Welcome to our deep dive, all about electric vehicles. Looks like you sent us a whole bunch of articles and videos about EVs, so you're definitely ready to get charged up about this topic.
Yeah.
We've got everything from historical analysis to the latest in battery tech, even an interview with a leading energy expert. So buckle up because today we're taking you on a deep dive into the world of electric vehicles.
Yeah, it's going to be an electrifying conversation.
Our mission today is to uncover the twists and turns of EV history, explore what's making them so popular right now, and peek into the future at both the challenges and promises this tech brings to the table.
You know, it's funny, we often think of electric cars as a new thing. But you know what? The sources you sent actually show that they've been around for over a century.
Right. In fact, one of the articles even questions why electric cars basically disappeared, even though they were pretty popular in the late 1800s and early 1900s.
To understand that, we really need to travel back in time. Back then, battery range was super limited. You couldn't go very far at all before needing to recharge.
And on top of that, recharging those early batteries took forever.
Oh yeah, we're talking hours.
It's crazy to think about that now when we're used to just plugging in for a short time.
And to make matters worse, there was no charging infrastructure. Imagine trying to find a place to plug in your car over 100 years ago.
It just wasn't a practical option for most people back then.
And right around the same time, fossil fuels were becoming widely available, so gasoline and diesel became the main fuel sources.
Plus, those powerful internal combustion engines really captured the public's imagination. So it sounds like a whole bunch of factors kind of conspired to lead to the decline of those first electric cars. But knowing that history actually really helps us understand the electric car situation that's happening today.
Yeah, it gives us some really important context.
So what do you think sparked this resurgence of EVs?
It's really amazing. It's like a perfect storm of different things coming together all at the right time to bring electric vehicles back. Well, first, we have the growing concern all over the world about climate change. And the fact that fossil fuels aren't going to last forever. We just can't keep using them like we have in the past.
I totally agree. And technology has come a long way too. I'm thinking about lithium-ion batteries, which have really changed everything, from our smartphones to electric cars.
Definitely. Lithium-ion batteries are so much better when you compare them to those older EV batteries. I mean, they're lighter, they store more energy, and they're more affordable too.
All of which has made electric cars way more practical to use every day.
Right, and don't forget about the role of governments. It seems like all over the world they're starting to realize we need cleaner transportation options.
Oh yeah. A lot of countries now have all sorts of programs and incentives to try to get people to buy EVs, like tax breaks and subsidies.
Exactly.
I wonder if our listeners have looked into what's available where they live. Those incentives can really make a difference when you're thinking about getting an EV.
Absolutely. And on top of all that, we can't forget about the power of just people becoming more aware. More and more folks are realizing that their choices affect the environment, and that includes how they get around.
It's like a movement.
Yeah, this demand for greener options has really pushed electric cars into the spotlight.
Now, before we move on, I think we should probably talk about the core of any EV, the battery.
Definitely. Batteries are the key to understanding electric cars. They determine how far you can go, how quickly the car can accelerate, and even how much it costs.
So how about a quick explanation of how these batteries actually work? I have to admit, it's always seemed kind of magical to me.
It's not magic, but it's pretty cool. Imagine a bunch of tiny particles called lithium ions. They move back and forth between two electrodes inside the battery. And as those ions move, they create an electrical current that powers the car.
I'm starting to get it.
Then when you charge the battery, you're basically reversing the flow of those ions. It's like filling up a gas tank. But instead of gas, you're filling it with electrons.
Makes sense. So we've been talking about lithium-ion batteries, but I've also heard about some other types of batteries that are being developed for EVs. Are those going to be the next big thing?
Well, right now, lithium-ion is still the most common type. It really does strike a good balance between how it performs and affordability.
What about lithium polymer batteries? Are those better?
They have some advantages like being lighter, and they could be safer than lithium-ion, but they do tend to be more expensive.
And then there's solid-state batteries. It seems like I keep hearing about those. Are those going to be like the holy grail of EV batteries?
You know, a lot of people think so. Solid-state batteries have a ton of potential. Instead of a liquid, they use a solid electrolyte, which could make them even safer. They could hold even more energy, and they could last even longer. But the catch is they're still really early in development.
So not quite ready for prime time.
Not yet.
This all brings us to some of the challenges that battery tech is facing, which obviously impacts the entire future of electric vehicles.
Definitely. Researchers and engineers are working incredibly hard to solve these problems, but cost is a major hurdle. Batteries make up a huge part of an electric car's price tag, which unfortunately prices some people out of the market.
Yeah, and then there's range anxiety. I hear about this all the time. People worry about not being able to drive far enough on a single charge.
Especially if they need to take a longer trip.
Right.
It's understandable why people would be concerned about that. But the good news is battery tech is constantly improving.
So it's getting better all the time.
Exactly. New EVs are coming out all the time with longer ranges. Some can even go almost as far as a gas car on a full tank.
So those worries are starting to fade away a little bit.
They are.
But even with these longer-lasting batteries, what happens to them when they eventually die? Are we just going to end up with a giant pile of e-waste?
That's where recycling comes in. It's absolutely essential to recycle EV batteries, not just to protect the environment, but also to recover the valuable materials inside those batteries.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, things like lithium, cobalt, nickel, those are all super important.
So it's a win-win.
Right. Good for the planet and good for the supply chain.
So it sounds like a circular economy approach is going to be really important.
Absolutely crucial for the future of EVs.
One of the sources you sent was a really interesting interview with an energy expert named Nicola Armaroli. I thought it was fascinating how he talked about public perception of EVs and how people are adopting them.
Armaroli offers a really unique perspective. He thinks the biggest challenge for EV adoption isn't the technology, it's people's resistance to change.
That's such a good point. I mean, humans are creatures of habit. It can be hard to change the way we do things, even if a new way of doing things has clear benefits.
I think a lot of people feel that way about switching from gas cars to electric.
Absolutely. And you know what? You sent over this McKinsey survey, and it shows that 60% of people who are hesitant about EVs say it's because they just don't know enough about them.
They haven't really had a chance to learn.
Right. Plus, this survey also found that a lot of people still believe that EVs can't go very far, or that they can't handle their everyday needs.
It seems like a lot of these concerns are based on outdated information.
Exactly. People just aren't aware of what EVs can actually do these days.
Clearly, we need to focus on educating people.
I really liked how Armaroli compared the switch to EVs to other big changes in technology that we've all gone through, like moving from typewriters to computers, or from landlines to cell phones.
It's a good analogy.
Remember those transitions, listener?
Huh.
It probably felt strange at the time, but now they're just normal parts of our lives.
Right. Armaroli is basically saying that we've successfully navigated those kinds of changes before, and we can do it again with electric vehicles.
Okay, so let's try to clear up some of the common misconceptions and fears that people have about EVs.
Sounds good. I'm ready to bust some myths.
Me too.
One big one is that EVs are more prone to catching fire than gas cars.
Oh, I've heard that one.
But the data shows that's just not true. Statistically, they're way less likely to catch fire.
So that's just a myth.
It is.
And even in those rare cases when an EV does catch fire, we have firefighters and other professionals who know how to handle them safely.
Right. They're trained to deal with those kinds of situations.
Another one I hear a lot is that EVs actually produce more CO2 than gas cars over their lifespan because of all the energy it takes to make the batteries.
Oh, yeah. That's a common misconception.
But from what I've read, that's been debunked by a lot of studies.
Exactly.
It's important to remember that EVs don't produce any tailpipe emissions,
Which is huge for improving air quality.
especially in cities.
Absolutely.
And as we transition to cleaner ways of making electricity like wind and solar power, the environmental impact of EVs will keep getting better.
So let's talk about grid capacity. One of the big questions people have is whether our power grids can actually handle it if everyone switches to electric cars.
It's definitely something we need to think about.
Well, in the interview you sent, Armaroli actually does some calculations, and he says that even if every single car in Italy suddenly became electric, the existing renewable energy infrastructure could handle it.
Really? I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising.
So it's not that the grid doesn't have enough overall capacity.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about managing the demand at peak times, like when everyone's plugging in their cars to charge at the same time.
Exactly. But Armaroli has a really cool idea for how we can solve that. He suggests using EVs as basically power banks to make the grid more stable.
Mini power stations all over the place.
Right.
I love the example he uses of a parking lot full of EVs at an airport. They basically become this giant battery that can feed energy back into the grid when needed.
It's a great way to visualize the potential of EVs to be part of a more resilient energy system.
This is where the idea of vehicle-to-grid technology comes in, or V2G for short.
Yeah, V2G lets electric cars not only charge from the grid, but also send power back to the grid.
That's amazing. So now we had to think about the environmental impact of mining those raw materials.
You're right. Mining for lithium, nickel, and cobalt, all of which are essential for EV batteries, can definitely harm the environment and communities, especially if it's not done responsibly.
It's something we can't ignore.
Definitely not.
But Armoroli makes an interesting point about hypocrisy.
What does he say?
He points out that we often focus on the potential downsides of getting materials for EV batteries, while kind of ignoring the fact that fossil fuel extraction has been causing massive environmental damage for decades.
Oh, yeah, he's saying we need to look at the whole picture.
Right. We can't just focus on the negatives of one solution without acknowledging the negatives of the thing it's replacing.
It's about weighing the trade-offs and making sure that we're moving toward cleaner energy in a responsible way.
So this leads us to another concern that people have. What about how long EV batteries last? And what happens to them when they eventually need to be replaced?
People worry about those things, but we need to reassure them that EV batteries are designed to last for a really long time. We're talking hundreds of thousands of kilometers, and most of them have warranties to give people peace of mind.
That is good to know.
Plus, battery tech is always getting better.
So the batteries of the future will probably last even longer.
Exactly.
And like we talked about before, recycling those batteries is going to be super important.
To both minimize environmental impact and recover those valuable materials.
A circular economy for EV batteries is definitely the way to go.
It's the only way to make them truly sustainable in the long run.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I wanted to touch on some of the other fuel options that are out there, like biofuels and hydrogen.
Yeah, those are being explored as well.
Armoroli seems to have some pretty strong opinions about hydrogen cars. He calls them a dead end. He says they're expensive, inefficient, and there's just not enough infrastructure to support them.
Interesting.
He does say that hydrogen might have a future in other areas, though, like in aviation and shipping, where battery technology might not be practical.
I see.
But he's pretty convinced that for everyday transportation, electric vehicles are the clear winner,
They have a lot going for them.
especially their ability to work with renewable energy sources and help us create a more stable power grid.
I think this is a really important point. It seems like Armoroli sees the move to EVs as more than just swapping out gas for batteries. He sees it as a whole new way of thinking about transportation and how transportation connects to energy.
That's a big shift in thinking.
It is.
He's suggesting that EVs are part of a much bigger interconnected system.
One that's all about moving towards sustainability and being more adaptable and resilient.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground so far. From the history of electric vehicles to the challenges and opportunities of battery technology, it's been a fascinating conversation. And we'll be back soon with part 2 of this electrifying deep dive.
Welcome back to our deep dive on electric vehicles.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack from the last part. We talked about the history of EVs and how batteries work, and even dove into some of the myths and misconceptions surrounding them, plus the whole idea of using electric cars to stabilize the power grid.
It's clear this is more than just a fad. It's a full-blown revolution in transportation.
For sure. And Armoroli really hit the nail on the head when he said, the electric car is not just another car, it's another thing.
Yeah, that really stuck with me too.
It seems like he's saying that electric cars are totally changing the way we think about transportation and energy.
Exactly. He's challenging us to move past this old idea of cars just burning fuel and polluting, and instead see them as part of a more sustainable and interconnected energy system.
It's a totally different way of thinking.
It is.
So what was the most surprising thing you learned so far?
I think the most fascinating thing is how EVs are making us question everything about how we produce and consume energy.
You mean how we've always relied on power plants to generate electricity and then send it out to everyone?
Right, that centralized model. But EVs have the potential to flip that on its head and create a more decentralized and dynamic system.
Where individuals can actually contribute to the grid. Like Armoroli's example of airport parking lots becoming giant batteries.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pretty radical change. And that kind of disruption can be both exciting and a little bit scary.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It means we need to rethink infrastructure and regulations.
And even our own habits.
But it also opens up so many possibilities for innovation and progress.
It really does.
I can't wait to see what creative solutions people come up with as we explore EVs and their role in the big energy picture.
Me too. It's an area that's ripe for breakthroughs. Have you heard about vehicle-to-grid technology?
V2G.
Yeah, that's it. It basically lets electric cars send power back to the grid.
So they're not just taking energy, they're giving it back too.
Exactly.
Hold on. Are you saying that if my EV is plugged in at home and the power grid suddenly needs more juice, like during a heat wave or something, my car could actually help out?
That's the idea.
It could share some of its stored energy to prevent blackouts.
That's right.
Wow, that's incredible.
And it's just one example. As battery technology keeps getting better, and we figure out smarter ways to manage energy flow, the possibilities are endless
It feels like we're on the verge of a massive shift.
in how we generate, distribute, and use energy.
And electric vehicles are a huge part of that.
Definitely. And it's not just about reducing our reliance on fossil fuels.
What else is it about?
It could lead to whole new industries, new jobs, even new approaches to urban planning and transportation.
So it's even bigger than the cars themselves.
Way bigger.
What do you think? Are we headed toward a world where every vehicle is electric?
Armaroli seems to think so. But even he acknowledges that it's not going to happen overnight.
There are still challenges, right?
Of course. We need to build more charging stations and make batteries more affordable and address the concerns that some people still have.
But the momentum is there. I think it's important to remember that getting to a fully electric transportation system will probably involve a mix of solutions.
Like what?
Well, we're already seeing electric buses and trucks.
Oh, yeah. And even some trains and ships.
So it's not just about passenger cars.
Exactly.
And as battery technology continues to advance, we might even see electric vehicles pop up in places we haven't even thought of yet.
The future of transportation is constantly evolving.
Now let's bring it back to you, our listener. We've talked a lot about electric vehicles, their history, the technology, the impact they could have. But what does all this mean for you?
Think about how this connects to your own life, your choices, and your hopes for the future.
As you keep learning about EVs, ask yourself what role you want to play in this transition.
What excites you about electric vehicles?
What concerns or questions do you still have?
Do you think a fully electric transportation system is even possible?
And if so, what needs to happen to make it a reality?
These are big questions.
And we encourage you to keep exploring them.
We'll be back soon for the final part of this deep dive.
But until then, keep thinking about how all this connects to your world. And we're back for the final part of our electric vehicle deep dive.
It's been a wild ride, right?
It has. From the early days of EVs to the crazy advanced batteries that are shaping the future, we've explored a lot.
We've learned that switching to electric vehicles is way more than just swapping gas for electrons.
It's like a total change in how we think about energy and transportation,
Mm.
and even what it means to get around.
It's about adapting and coming up with new ways of doing things.
But it's also about the potential for a cleaner and more efficient future.
For us and for everyone who comes after us.
You know, before we wrap up, I wanted to get back to something Armaroli said. He said, the electric car is not just another car, it's another thing. What do you think he meant by that?
That's a good question. I think he was saying that electric cars have the potential to be more than just vehicles.
More than just a way to get from point A to point B?
Exactly. They could be mobile energy storage units or ways to make the power grid more stable. They could even be symbols of a world that's changing for the better.
It's like they're a catalyst for change on a bigger level.
Right. He's also pushing us to think beyond the traditional car industry.
And see how electric cars connect to things like energy and technology in new ways.
It's like we're entering a new era of transportation.
Where cars and energy and even our homes are all becoming more connected.
It's exciting and a little bit overwhelming.
I agree. But it's full of possibilities.
For sure.
I think the key is to keep asking questions and challenging the way things have always been done. And be open to those new ideas.
Because the future of transportation is happening now.
And we all have a role to play in shaping it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on electric vehicles, what are some of the most important things our listeners should remember?
Well, first, remember that this transition to electric vehicles is something we're all part of.
Whether you're thinking about buying an EV or supporting policies that promote clean energy, or just staying curious and learning more about it, your actions have an impact.
Second, don't be afraid to question the way things are. Challenge those old assumptions and be open to new ways of doing things.
The future's being created right now.
We all have a hand in shaping it.
And finally, never underestimate the power of individual action.
Every choice we make adds up.
From the cars we drive to the energy we use.
Together, we can make this electric revolution happen. and create a more sustainable future.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It's been electrifying.
Until next time.
Keep those wheels turning.